Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Donor, and I'm the event coordinator for Single Life Today. For those of you who don't know, Single Life Today is an easy way to connect with singles aged 50 plus and over. We hold interactive virtual events and help singles network, connect, and boy, do we have fun. Check us out at www.singlelife.today. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Cherie Anderson. She has been leading local, domestic, and international tours, plus cruises for years, and has trained others in the travel business for over 25 years. And I've been lucky enough to train with Cherie, so I can vouch for her. Cherie has a two-part series, and we'll talk about her favorite careers, her favorite travel careers. But before I turn it over to Cherie, I do want to talk to you a little bit about my experience and how I got into the business. I don't know about you, but I had been in corporate America for a lot of years, and I was really dissatisfied. I liked my job, but I didn't love my job. And I knew there was something else out there for me, but I didn't know what. And I was getting up there in age. I was, in my late 40s, getting into my early 50s. I had healthcare to worry about, and I didn't know who would hire me. Well, I'm a traveler, and I had a couple of different tour directors tell me about what they did. I did a little bit of research and decided that was for me. And so when I was ready to retire, I left my corporate job. I went on to be a tour director. My first season was in Alaska. And let me tell you, best season, best summer of my life. I really wish I had made this change sooner. So whether you're interested or not in a travel career, you may be, after Cherie's done talking, about some of her favorite travel careers. So Cherie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your favorite travel careers?
Hi, I'm Cherie Anderson with Professional Tour Management Training, and Linda knows I'm excited to be here. Like many of you, this last year has been tough. I've been isolated. I'm used to working in travel and hospitality when I'm with people and help people and wonderful colleagues, and I've missed it. So just connecting with Linda and getting the enthusiasm back and seeing things are starting to open up and cruise lines are coming back and tours are coming back excites me and oh gosh, I'm excited to be here. So how I got started, because I too love travel. In fact, I went into teaching so I could travel during the holidays. I was a PE teacher. I went into medical sales. I went into real estate, all different careers. I like things that changed. Anyway, years ago, I was on the beach in Laguna, and a young lady said, if you take care of the kids for Sitmar Cruise Lines, and some of you may remember Sitmar, you get a free cruise. So I wrote back and forth for like a year and a half. Now, my students don't have to do that, but I didn't know how to get into travel. So wrote back and forth, I'm available, I want to go. Finally, I did a Christmas cruise from LA to San Juan, Puerto Rico, through the Panama Canal and back. I was hooked. I loved it. And I was doing it for free. I was doing it for a free cruise. I was so excited. I did the same thing again during our Easter holiday, during our summer holiday. And finally in the fall, I was hired as a cruise host. Now, not a cruise host like the cruise lines have. I think we had the best job as a cruise host, like Linda does for Tammy. Where I went on board and I would help the passengers that I was responsible for and help with briefings and parties and cocktail parties and, just so much fun, so much fun. The first couple of years I spent doing mainly Alaska, which I love, like Linda, Panama Canal, Caribbean, Mexico. And then after a couple of years, I started doing the longer distance ones. Asia, South Pacific, Russia, the Baltics, all over. It just wonderful. So then I decided I wanted to be a tour director because friends I worked with on board, other cruise hosts would say, oh, you don't have to do the narration. So I thought, oh, easy, easy. My first tour was 28 days in China. And this was back before they had the big gorgeous hotels and the fine dining that they have now and the beautiful airlines. We were on Russian military planes. We were eating animals. I don't want to tell you what they were. We were lucky if we had a toilet in those days. So it was tough. We left. We all looked like refugees. We had lost so much weight by the time we got to Hong Kong. And I went, oh, I want to be a tour director. Well, eventually I learned the job. And so I would kind of alternate between cruises and tours. And I kind of lived like Linda's living right now, where I put my stuff in storage. I just said, keep me out there. I was home about 2 days a month. Wherever my suitcase was, that's where I was. I loved it. And if anybody remembers, this was one of those points that sticks out in my life. And some of you have probably had this kind of experience where I'm going back, but you're 50 and over. So some of you remember The Last Emperor, the movie The Last Emperor. I loved it. And within weeks after seeing that, I was standing at the Forbidden City going, oh, I can't believe I'm here. Just can't believe I'm here. And not only did I just get that overwhelming feeling, and I know you guys, you love travel, so you probably have had the same kind of feelings, but then I thought, oh, and I get paid for it, which was even better. So anyway, continued on for about 10 years. I did just lived out of the suitcase. And then I started getting pets, decided I want to be home. So I started my training, and I would do my training. I'd stay home for a couple of weeks and then go back out on the road because I wasn't giving up travel, and I still work in the travel business because I love it. And worked with colleges from anybody that knows California, from Oxnard all the way down to San Diego, doing my classes. Some were credit, some were community colleges, went into what I call fast track training. I still do today. 9/11 hit. I put my training online with Ed to Go with the colleges, 2,400 colleges, over 2,400 colleges worldwide. So much fun. Wrote my textbook, the Tour Director Training Guide, which is still in print, just redid it in 2020. And it's like the 5th edition now. Then I decided, gosh, I'm going to do it myself, because I wanted more an interactive online class. So now I have my own interactive online class, which I can tell you about later, where I have videos and I can help people, and we do Zooms. And it's so much fun to hear from people that you got them into careers they love. And a lot of those people are still my friends and colleagues. And I was telling Linda, usually we do the Rose Parade every year. The Rose Bowl Rose Parade. We go up and I stay in LA for 5 days. We're working with the alumni from the different universities. It's so much fun. People from all over the country actually go come into California to work the Rose Parade. And I had people coming up saying it was their 20th. This was not this year, because it was canceled. We're all upset about that. But anyway, the year before, it was their 20th year, their 22nd year, because they remember their first job I got them 22 years ago was working the Rose Parade. And those people are still my friends and colleagues. So and one says, I blame my job on you. So anyway, that's what I do now. Besides, I also work in the business, mainly locally, and I'll be talking about what I do. I work with what are called destination management companies, and I love it. I still travel some, but I can also work in this industry locally. And that's why I wrote my ebook. And I wrote it last year. It's called Enjoy Living Your Dream Travel Job, 15 of My Favorite Travel Careers. And that's what I'm going to share with you for these next 2 sessions. Now, I'm not going to talk about travel agent, because everybody knows what a travel agent does. I'm going to talk about jobs where we actually physically work with people. And now, if you do want to be a travel agent, great job. You can also work for tour operators, doing reservations. And a lot of those, if you do work for them, they give you the perk of, 1 or 2 free trips a year, you and your spouse or your friend, because they want you to know the product. But I'm going to talk about where we actually work with the people. And one of the biggest challenges I've had over the years is that people don't have a clue. They don't have a clue what we do, how we do it. I mean, I still have family members, and I had one not too long ago call and say, can you book a cruise for us? And it's like, I'm not a travel agent. No, I can't do it. So my job is to travel with the tour groups. If it's locally, domestically, internationally on a cruise ship, that's my job. So to start out now, in my ebook, the Enjoy Living Your Dream Travel Job, I try to have something for everybody, all ages, all interests, those that are interested in full-time, those that are interested in part-time, those that want to do several things like I often do. So that's kind of what I'm going to cover. So the first thing I sort of want to get out of the way is working on the cruise ships as cruise staff. And if you've been on cruises, and I'm assuming a lot of you have been on cruises, you know, in most cases, the cruise lines are internationally registered. So they have international crew that takes care of their dining room, that takes care of their room services. And you would want to do that anyway, because they don't follow US labor laws and they work very hard. They make very little, if anything. Some of them even pay to work on the ships for gratuities. So in that case, you're wasting your time. But if you're interested in working cruise staff, maybe you have an entertainment background, maybe you have a retail background, or spa, massage, hairstyling, that kind of thing, you can work for the cruise lines. Now, some of them hire concessions. A lot of them are over like in England, and they'll hire the concessions to hire the people, and you can get that on their websites. Others, like Princess, they hire their own staff. So if you're interested in retail, you're interested in the casino, you're interested in hairstyling, massage, you can apply directly to Princess. Now, later we're going to talk more about specific hiring and on the 24th. But let me say, you want to be very specific on what you want to do, and you want to tell them what you can do for them. On all of these jobs, all of these companies get a lot of people saying, oh, I love travel and I love people. Well, then their thought is, well, then book our tour, book our cruise. When I first started my training years ago, I talked to the young lady that went through all the resumes for Princess, and I just pictured her with a big desk and a big trash bin next to her. And she said, I'm not here to make people's dreams come true, which is that letter saying, I love people and I love travel. Now, if you can relate that love with, background and experience, that's a possibility. But just I love people and I love travel, so hire me is not going to do it. Like she said, I want them to tell me exactly what they can do. The example she used was, I'm great at math. I want to work in the casino. So that's the kind of thing you want to do if you want to work on the cruise ships. Now, some of you may not, some of you may have younger friends. What I try to do in this too is to give opportunities for younger people trying to get into the business. And by the way, if you go to my website, tour-guide-training.com, tour guide training with dashes, I have a video. Friends have been asking me to help their kids, some grandkids, get into the business. So I did a whole video. It's about 40 minutes long. It's right on my website under Adventure Tours, and a whole video on helping young people get in the business. So, and lots of suggestions. So, but anyway, you might tell them that. And also they want to go directly to the cruise line. Now, in my ebook, I have the connections, but you can go right to their hiring pages under careers, and it usually brings up, what you need to fill out and all of that. And don't go to some of these things online they've had for years. We'll get you a job on the cruise ship, and you pay them money to get you a job on the cruise ship. Go directly to them. And you can get a whole list of the cruise lines through CLIA. CLIA. CLIA is a Cruise Line International Association. You can get a whole list of cruise lines. So that's working for the cruise line. Now, you may work for 9 months. I remember one of my students got a job on the ship. She was so excited. It was 9 months. And she said, and when's my day off? I said, in 9 months. She'd get time off report. But, and I think Linda can verify this, my international tours are usually like 3.5 weeks long. I can work 3.5 weeks long. I come home exhausted, but I'm exhausted from hard work. I mean, this is a lot of work. I'm exhausted, but if you put me in an office or in a cubicle, Monday through Friday, I'm burned out by Wednesday. I am not great at details. That's why there's people like Tammy that are good at details and taking care of all that. I'm better at saying, follow me. Let's go. Let me tell you about this place rather than the details. So, but that's just me. So, but you do work hard. So that leads me. And if I talk too fast, Linda, let me know, because I get excited and I'll just go forever. Just let me know. Then there's cruise hosting. Again, I'm excited just to talk to someone. I've been isolated too long. You may feel the same way. Somebody calls me like from the phone company, and I go, I say, I'm sorry, I'm by myself. So anyway, here I am today, and excited to be. So cruise hosting, this is how I started, like Linda does. And with this, you're working for the tour operator. You're not working for the cruise line. So it's companies that hire people to go on the ships. Hopefully cruising's coming back soon. We were talking yesterday about, well, when I started cruising, they used to say it was for the newlywed and the nearly dead. And it was $300 to $500 a day, you know, and then Carnival came along and the cruises got shorter. The services went from 6 courses to American style serving. You get everything on your dish, but affordable. So now most people can afford to cruise. So then we got the bigger and bigger ships. And it sounds like now they're saying the smaller ships, and I understand Tammy has cruises on the smaller ships. The smaller ships and with fewer people are coming back, which I think is great. So, but I'm old school, you know, so that's good to see. But anyway, we go along and we help the people that we're with. I do briefings. I try to take care of any problems, any challenges. Never mind, I was going to go negative, visit a lot of hospitals in my career, but which is why we're there too. If there's a medical problem, things happen and we need to know what to do, and we're there to help. But the fun stuff with the cocktail parties and getting people to meet. And I used to get really good at being able to introduce this couple and they came in, and this couple, and then this couple, and this couple, and this couple. Now out of practice, it may take a while to remember the first couple's names, but that's our job and we're there to help. And I know Linda's excited about it too. The next crew, and Linda, if you have questions or anybody has questions, you can, let me know. The next career I mentioned is international tour director. We call it a tour director, tour manager, program manager. In Europe, they call us a concierge, or a courier. I'm sorry, not a concierge, courier, they call us in Europe, where we travel with the groups. Now, we're not travel agents. People are travel agents, and we're not tour guides. If people call me, I remember years ago, somebody called me because I know what to do. I just want to know what travel agency you work for. And I went, well, then I know she doesn't know what I do because I don't work for travel agencies. So, but we are hired as tour directors, tour managers to travel with the group. And if you've traveled with Tammy on any of her land tours, what the tour manager's job is like. And our job is to manage the tour. Now, if we're an international tour director, which a lot of people don't understand, is that we work for what's called an outbound tour operator. So, for instance, I do a lot of Australia, New Zealand, Fiji tours. Tough job, but someone's got to do it. Fiji's great at the end when I get to lay on the beach and recoup. But I'm hired by an outbound tour operator that puts the tour together. They may also do domestic tours, but they're the ones, if you go to a travel agency and you see those beautiful brochures, if you can find a travel agency anymore, those are put together by tour operators. Now, they're the ones that go in and they set everything up. Just think of what Tammy does. She does all the reservations. She's both tour operator and travel agent, but they put all the tours together. They do the hotel reservations, the airline reservations, what meals are going to be included, what tours are going to be included, what parties are going to be included, all of that. They put it all together. That's the inbound tour or outbound tour operator. That's who I work for. So when you see their brochures and you contact them directly for your job.
I mean, I do have a question on that. So if I go to my travel agent and I want to book a trip, do they book the flight and then I fly with everybody together, or do I get to the destination myself?
That depends on the tour.
Okay.
If it's, it depends on the gateway city. Now, if the gateway city, like when I do Australia, New Zealand, our gateway city is LA. I meet everyone in LA and we all check in and we start the tour together. I may have 1 or 2 come from San Francisco that live in San Francisco, but we start there. Oftentimes, like when I do Europe tours, and I just want to mention too, Europe, Western Europe, their guides are really good. So we aren't hired there as often as we're hired in Eastern Europe, Asia, South America. We are hired, but not as often. So I just want to throw that out there because people will say, oh, I only want to do England. Well, lots of luck, So not that you can't, but we're not as needed as much as in other places. But and the question was, I just forgot. So,
Flights.
Oh, okay. So when I do Europe, like let's say I'm starting in Copenhagen and I'm in Los Angeles, I live in Orange County. So I fly to New Jersey a day or two before And then the people that are flying from that area will fly with me. But then we have people coming in from Chicago and other airlines. So then I'll meet them at the hotel. And they've been given instructions on how to get to the hotel. The gateway city is Copenhagen, and I meet them all together. Because if you're in Chicago and you just want to go direct, you don't want to have to play with all these and have everybody have to meet up in Jersey. So in that case, we'll meet at the hotel. Depends on the gateway city. And often in your brochure, it'll say the first day of the tour, this is where you're going to be met by your tour director, your program director, that kind of thing. So that, and then sometimes what happens with an outbound tour operator, they'll hire an inbound tour operator in the countries you're going to. So for instance, when I get to Australia and I start out in Cairns, I'm working with a local inbound tour operator. They take care of the transportation, they hire the guides, I work with them. If I have a problem, I have a challenge, like I've gotten in and, there's a flood, there's a problem, the days have changed, any kind of logistics, I work with them because they're right there and they can take care of that. If somebody gets sick, I have to leave them behind. They're there to help. I mean, how would you like to get sick in someplace? Australia, New Zealand is not that bad. The communities have come out and helped my people. It's amazing. But there's some places you want to be just, well, goodbye, we're leaving, where you have an inbound tour operator to help with that. Because if I'm having a problem and, I try to call my tour operator in Boston, they're not going to be able to help. So that's the inbound tour operator I'm working with. So oftentimes, going back to your question, sometimes I'll have the inbound tour operator, they'll have hired people to meet the later groups at the airport on an international tour. So then they can, again, we'll all meet up at the hotel that night, have our briefing, have our cocktail party, have some fun. and we do the cocktail party after the briefing.
Yep.
I need to be able to talk. So anyway, it's so much fun to talk about the job. So that's we're there to manage the tour. What a lot of people don't understand is that we're not there to do the narration. You really don't want to go to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji with me and hear me tell you about my internet educated information about Cairns and Sydney and Auckland and Christchurch and all that. You want somebody local, or in China or anywhere in the world. Egypt, we were mentioning Egypt earlier, somebody from Egypt talking about giving you the narration, but I'm there to manage. And there's a lot to manage, flights and every day I have different inbound tour operators, different drivers, different guides, it's just, it's moving. When we do, so our job is to manage. Now, if we can manage a tour, and especially an international tour, we can manage a tour anywhere. So in my case, my only international travel was I lived in a Samoan village one summer and I had been to Tijuana. So every place I went as a tour director, it was my first time going there, but I didn't tell the group that. And hopefully they couldn't figure that out because I know how to manage the tour. If I told them, well, I haven't been here, they wouldn't enjoy the tour as much. They'd question me, but I know how to manage the tour. I know what questions to ask. I know what needs to be set up. I know behind the scenes that the people don't see. There's a lot of work behind the scenes the group doesn't see. When I show up to my group, I have to take deep breaths like, oh, okay, good morning, when I'm racing around beforehand and after. So, but that's, anyway, so that's moving on. So I'm losing my track. So anyway, so going on, what I want to mention too, is an inbound tour operator that I mentioned. Now, do you think we have inbound tour operators in the US? The answer is yes. So when international tours come to the US, those international companies, the tour operators in the other countries, hire somebody in the US to take care of their travel details, to line up their coaches, to line up their guides, to do the logistics, the hotels, all of that behind the scenes. So you can also work for inbound tour operators in the US. And if you're bilingual, you have a great chance of getting work with an inbound tour operator. When I started the business, they used to hire people from Europe to come here to lead the tours. They couldn't find bilingual, good, trained tour directors. So they would bring them from Europe. Well, 9/11 happened. And so that's difficult now. They can't just bring them over. There's working visas, there's, it gets really complicated. So that just leads more opportunity for those of you that are bilingual. So if you can lead a tour and you're bilingual, you have a really good chance nowadays to get in with the inbound tour operator, at least when all our flights open up, which hopefully looks like it hopefully will be soon, sooner than later. So, but that's the inbound tour operator. So that's another type of job that you can do. Now, you don't have to be bilingual to work for them, because we still have people coming in from Australia. We have people coming in from England that speak English. And some of them will have people from all different countries, and they'll tell them that they only speak English on the tour, that the tour director is going to be speaking English. Of course, there's different levels of English, so it can get a little confusing. And being an international group can have its advantages and disadvantages culturally, so it can be interesting. But anyway, that's working for an inbound tour operator as a tour director, tour manager.
Cherie, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you have these inbound from other countries, do you know ahead of time what country they're coming from, so you can prepare to learn their customs and to learn different things, so that you're
probably just 2 weeks before, when you start getting your documents and you look through your documents. I have a gal I trained years ago. She's been working and training for Talk Tours for years now, but and she speaks German. And I remember her first domestic tour. She was so excited, and she was supposed to go one direction. She arrived and they had her go in a different direction. She had all her narration. This is before we had the internet to go, oh, tell me about Myrtle Beach kind of thing, So, but I remember she came back, she goes, oh God, it was like the United Nations. And some of the documents were in German, and then they had the Americans, and they had the people from the UK. And it was like, trying to keep peace, the United Nations. And she came back and she went on and on. And this happens so much with people. And that's in the training I try to cover. Okay, these are the challenges you're going to have. Just say what I say. It avoids a lot of challenges. If you just say what I say, cover what I covered in the briefing, it'll avoid some of those. But challenges come up. If they didn't, I wouldn't have a job. If everything just worked perfectly,
right,
I wouldn't have a job. I don't think I have to worry about that at this point. So, but they come back like she did, and she goes on and on, all this challenge I had. And I said, well, how did you like it? She goes, I loved it.
Yep.
And so many, and they'll say, oh, you were on my shoulder. This is what happened. You were right. They said this. And how did you like it? I loved it. And they're so proud of themselves because they're able to take care of those challenges. And I should say nothing's deadly, but no, I've had some of those too, but not because of something that I did or happened on a tour. But it's always changing. When you think, oh gosh, and I've done this tour over and over, and I've got this routine all set up, it's going to be a surprise. So that's all part of the job, and that's why we're there. Let me mention too, domestic tour director as a different job than international tour directors. International, we've got a lot of management. When you do domestic tours, your management's easier because you usually meet them at the hotel if they're all coming in together like an international group. I mean, at the airport, or you meet up at the hotel if they're all coming in at different times. Most likely, you're going to meet them at the hotel and then do your briefing and cocktail party and all of that. Maybe not for the kids if you do student tours, but but you're on this. You have your driver, you have your motor coach. You're on the same motor coach, same driver for 10 days, 2 weeks, however long the tour is. And then you drop them off at the airport or you end at the hotel, however your tour is structured. But so the management is easier in that case. You're not having to do the airlines and different drivers, different guides, different every day. So, but you do the narration. And nowadays there's so much on the internet. When I started, I remember taking books from the library like this, and a little bit in this book, contacting visitor centers. I mean, it was tough. Nowadays, it's so easy, and there's so many wonderful sites. National parks, you go to their website, they've got wonderful resources. I mean, it's great. So it's a lot easier. And I like to stress to people, they think, oh God, I'm going to be talking 8 hours a day. No one wants to listen to you talk 8 hours a day. Linda knows. So if you're a tour director, in fact, I had one in Australia one time, and just through, and he was so good, so much information. My people kept saying, please stop. And I'd say, it's wonderful, please. It's enough information. Please, please, please. So maybe on an all-day trip, if I was going to go from Los Angeles, Orange County to Scottsdale, 6 hours, maybe I'll talk 30% of the time as we go across the desert. And it depends on who you have. If you have somebody from England, they're going to see cactus for the first time. They may be really interested. So it depends on who you have. When you're on a city tour even, you don't want to listen to somebody talk for 4 hours. You know, you're going to stop for souvenirs. You're going to stop to use a restroom. You're going to stop to get a cup of coffee, you know, to see if you're Hollywood, you're going to want to stop and see the footprints and handprints and all that. So maybe you're talking 75% of the time. So don't think you're talking all the time, and don't try to do that to people, because people love to sitting back and let me know. I mean, they're there to see the scenery and enjoy the peace and the country. I mean, it's just, you know, all part of the experience. So, and it becomes an art, and you get to the point where it's really fun, because each tour you learn a little bit more, and you learn a little bit more how to say things and how to get people engaged. And you, in your mind, before you speak, you start going, oh, I'm going to paint it this way. You know, you paint these pictures and anyway, that's being a domestic tour director. Again,
and I do have
go on and on.
I do have a question on that, Cherie. I actually have two questions. So do you have to live as a tour director, do you have to live in the location? And two, are you an employee or are you a contractor?
First question, do you have to live in location? If you're an international tour director or a domestic tour director, normally not. Now, if you're working for a small mom and pop situation, you know, where they're hiring their friends or families to be the tour directors, you know, then it's different. But the major tour operators, no. They fly you to wherever the tour starts, and then they'll fly you home. They'll cover all your expenses, your hotel, any gratuities that you have to pay, like on the luggage and luggage for the gratuities for the group luggage or anything like that. You'll get all of that ahead of time. So that's all taken care of. And that's if you work for a domestic or an international. The question on independent contractor or employee depends on the company. Okay. And I'll go on. There was a lawsuits years ago after 9/11. The state of California, the IRS, went after some of the tour operators and said, wait, these are employees, not independent contractors. So more and more started hiring as employees rather than independent contractors. And that there's still some that hire as independent contractors. So in California is getting tougher. It sort of depends on your state too. Okay. But in most cases, you're paid as a, well, I can't even say, more now as an employee. Others still pay as independent contractors. It depends on the legality of the state and the time.
Okay, got it.
And I just read this morning, there's a bill in Congress that may force more people to be employees rather than independent contractors, which I like being an independent contractor personally, but
me too.
Yeah, and a lot of us in the business, and California, we're kind of struggling with that because we would rather be independent contractors in a lot of cases. And especially when we're working like maybe a meeting for 4 days, you know, we'd rather be the independent contractor and have the write-offs and such too. So good question.
Thank you.
I don't have an exact answer, but good question. Okay, so that's domestic tour director. Then there's the adventure guide. And it's funny, when I wrote my ebook and when I did my video for young people, I thought, oh, adventure, you know, it's mainly the young people. And there's a lot of companies like Kontiki for the 18 to 35-year-olds, SunTrek, Trek America, where they specialize in the camping tours and the younger people. And I've had older people say, oh, but I really like younger people. And my comment is, you probably won't after a tour with them. Right. I had taught for years a class up in Long Beach, and I had a gentleman in my class that had worked for Kontiki, and he talked about, you know, arranging transportation, getting home from the bars at night, you know, the girl-boy relationships. And I just went, oh, I'm sticking with my adult tours. You know, I mean, it was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. So that's all part of it. So for younger people, and this is funny, 2 days ago, I went to my mailbox, and this is a magazine called Group Tour, and on the front are bike tours. And I don't know how much you can see. Those aren't young people. I see a lot of gray hair there. So adventure tours aren't just for young people. And this particular, they talk about biking tours. They have some in LA, Indianapolis, around the country, I think Chicago. So not just for young people. So you get into something like that. Now, in some cases, these are local companies. So if you have a local biking company and you're interested in working as a guide for them, you know, you can contact them directly and see about it. And maybe it's something Tammy should start, and Linda could be.
Hey, I'm a huge cyclist. I'd love to lead one of those. Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I do, in my job now, we'll do the electric bikes. And then I've gotten so spoiled. I mean, the last time I was assigned to do a bike tour, I used to bring up the back. I fell off before we got out of the resort. And I was worried at the end getting up the hill. I couldn't even get out of the resort because I got so used to the electric bike. It's heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you do that. You can do that. You can suggest that to Tammy.
Okay.
I'll do the electric ones. So, but anyway, that's adventure tours and wonderful opportunities. Backroads is the big one. If there's somebody's watching this and you're really big on rafting, and they'll have rafting, hiking, mountain climbing. I mean, all in one tour. You know, they combine all the sports. So that's Backroads, and you want to contact them directly. Again, in the little ebook, I have a direct links to everybody and their hiring sites, but just look up Backroads, just look up adventure tours, look up in your community, go to your visitor center. It used to be called CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau. Now they're mostly called Visit. So if you live in Charlotte, visit Charlotte, you know, visit Savannah, visit Tampa. And a lot of those tours you'll see right on their website for their members and promoting it. So it's a good way to find them. Or bicycling tours in Tampa, you know, see if something comes up. So those are adventure tours.
And we're going to go a little bit more into that in part 2, right? How to get hired.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk more about that. Student tour leader is another position. And I'm going to let Linda talk about this because this is what she does.
I do. I do it more just in the spring, and you're going to be taking anywhere from 5th graders to high schoolers. And you have a busload of people, of kids who are just, you know, chomping at the bit to learn about where we're going. So anywhere from New York to Boston to DC is where I lead. And just the history of the country and you know, and giving that to them. I'm not a teacher, but I can give this information in a fun, exciting way that keeps them all engaged. And we have group leaders and we have the parents. So you've got kind of the gambit, but it's a super fun way if you like kids to get on the road and see, you know, the history of the US. So I highly recommend student tours if it's something that you like. And, you know, I talked earlier about how I got into it. Age is not a problem. If you want to get into it later in life, they love anybody who's interested in talking about history. So student tours is something I would recommend. Yeah,
most people don't even go into this job till their kids are grown. Like you, they don't know about the job.
Correct.
They don't even know it exists until after the kids are grown. They go, oh, this is great. So age is your ability outweighs. And wouldn't you feel better on tours and such with somebody a little more mature than some young kid going, yay. I mean, there's wonderful jobs for the younger people too. Not that they can't do it, but I think the maturity. And I always say moms make great tour directors because they have that experience of taking people on a trip with a heart, you know, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the parents are more comfortable having an older tour director, you know, putting their children in the hands of somebody who's an older tour director. So yeah, that's, it's been fun.
And talk a little bit about the parents that are on the trip. Aren't they usually the kids I know are excited to be there. They're excited.
The parents are, you know, you'd think that you'd have issues with kids being unruly, and no, it's the parents. They come on thinking I'm not chaperoning, I'm on vacation. So you do have to do a little corralling of the parents versus the kids, but it still turns out to be just as you said, you know, at the end, you're like, you know, it's a lot of hard work, but at the end, you're like, that was the best tour ever. I mean, it's just super fun. And you could be so creative. You can be creative with the adults as well. And I am, but with the kids, you know, we just do so many fun things. So yeah.
And they also have performance student tours. So you're taking them on the history, that kind of tour, but they also have performance tours. I don't know why Well, my phone's ringing, it's disconnected. But the performance tours are like where you take a group to Disneyland, or you take a group to Disney World, and they have what they call magic music days. So if you are into that kind of thing and you love working with kids, usually it starts like on a Thursday. You take them to Disneyland or Disney World. They spend a few days. They might tour the local area, and then they're off to they're home again. Can pay very well, but plus you get paid to go to Disneyland and Disney World, and hopefully Disneyland will be opening soon. So we'll be able to do that again.
Yeah.
And there's sports tours.
Sorry, a little bit more on the performance. You're not doing commentary so much. It's more of managing, as you talked about earlier. And,
Exactly.
And it's getting them because they're performing. So they're doing the parade in Disney World, or they're doing something in Chicago. So it's more of managing versus directing.
Exactly. And there's sports tours too. So there's lots of different student tours. You don't remember the name of the website. I've got it in the book. But there's a website for student tours, and it'll tell you all the different companies and all the different types of tours that they do. In fact, in my training, do you know Liz Moran by chance? Have you met Liz? She took my training years ago and started out in student tours, and has a whole section she did for me in my book and on my online on student tours. And I mean, you could never have seen a student and just follow what she says. It's really good. Okay, so then we have tour guide. Now, I've been saying I'm not a tour guide when I work doing these different things. I'm a tour guide. A tour guide is usually a local person that delivers a narration about their area. If it's a walking tour, if it's a bus tour, within that we have like sightseeing tours where they have the motor coach and the driver, and they go around the city. In some cases, a driver is a driver guide, and in some cases they have a person that steps on the coach and does the narration. So that's a sightseeing guide. We have walking tours. So like in Hollywood now, we have it's called Red Line. Anybody in the LA area that's interested in getting work, it's fun, where they put earphones on, and they walk you up Hollywood to the Grauman's. I always say the Grauman's. It's not the Grauman's, hasn't been for years, but anyway, the old Grauman's Chinese theater, and the Kodak Center, which is now the Adobe Center, I think it's called, but where they have the Academy Awards, and into little nooks and the Egyptian theater, and it's just great. And what's neat with the earphones is they keep up, because when they start falling behind, they start losing contact with you. So it's a great way to keep people together. And taste of, like we have Taste of Laguna, Taste of San Juan Capistrano here, the Taste of Orange, or Old Orange part of our city, or the Circle area. So that's become really popular. And if you're interested in working for companies like that, just contact them. And it's easy for them to train you as a local guide because they have you shadow, and you're right there. It's not like trying to train a tour director to do some other country, but it's a great way to get into the business. It's fun, it's flexible. Maybe you're retired, you just want something to do occasionally. If you, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, has a history degree, you have a history degree, God, they would love to hire you. And you have small groups, you walk around, or you're, on the bus doing the narration, and that's a tour guide. And I usually recommend, if you are interested in that and you're in a major city, look up the local tour guide association also. So I know like San Francisco, New York, Washington, D.C., New Orleans, all have excellent tour guide associations. Now, all the cities don't have them yet, but great way to find work, to network, to get training. They often have advanced training to help. And if somebody's coming to your area and they need a guide, that's often who they'll contact. So wonderful way to get in.
So that brings up a question. Do you need training to get into any of these jobs?
As a trainer, I say yes.
I do too. I wanted you, because
I think so.
You don't need it, but
really
I
helps.
Highly recommend it. I would not have survived without the training.
Well, I told you I hated my first tour. I just went. In fact, I remember I sent the paperwork in and I didn't even call for another tour. And then my next tour was, because I was doing cruises, I just went, I'll go back to the ships where it's easy. There's a problem, I just tell them, I don't have to deal with it in China on my own. So my next one was South America, all the way down to Argentina, Brazil, Argentina, Sao Paulo, Iguazu Falls, which was great, but we couldn't get out of Iguazu because the flights were canceled. And it was like 24 hours to get to the next location. We were really hungry and tired. It was tough. So anyway, no, I didn't know how to do it. And people were yelling at me and I hated it. And that's why with my students in the training, I say, this is what you say, you get to a hotel, this is what you say when you leave. This is what you cover in your briefing. This is what you it really helps. It's hard to get a job nowadays without it. Local guiding, you have a better chance, but if you go in and you've been trained, it shows that you're serious, and they'll be really happy to see somebody like that, because they get somebody who's never, doesn't have any information or how to, and I cover guiding, and I do practice narrations in my training. And in fact, here's two. If you go to my website, tour-guide-training.com, and click videos, I have a whole video series I did back in 2008. There's some up-to-date ones, some interviews, but they're little short ones. And I did one on narration, since we're talking about narration too with the guide. And click on that. I try to give you some suggestions on narration. And forget all the uhs I say in it, because I recently listened to it. I say a lot, but anyway, that'll give you some suggestions. And a lot of the jobs I'm talking about, I re-explain kind of in those videos too, which will help. So it's tour guide with dashes, tour-guide-training.com.
And you'll give us more of that at the end as well.
I will. I'll give you all kinds of links. I have so much information out there. I think I'll help.
So we have about, 7 to 10 more minutes. If you want to give us a couple more, and then we can continue that for the next part.
Let me talk about step-on guide, and then we'll end there. So a step-on guide is somebody that knows the area, is a tour guide, and that when domestic tours, like we were talking about later, come into the area. So for instance, I did a couple of maiden tours, which are tough, lots of glitches, but from San Diego to Seattle. And then talk about the glitches. I'm talking about, where do you get people fed in a short period of time when you have 40 people? Where do you stop to use restrooms to get 40 people in and out in a reasonable amount of time? Where, those, besides the tours are put together on a map, and it's very different than when you're actually doing it. So, but most of you, if you get hired, they won't have you do the new tours, because they'll be all pretty set and you'll be able to follow and have some of that help. But when I went I'm from San Diego to Seattle, when I went into San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle, the company had hired a step-on guide. Now I'm going into the city with a driver and a coach. I don't need to hire like a sightseeing tour where they have all the, the coach and all that. I just need somebody to step on my coach to do the narration. So that's why we call them a step-on guide. So when I got into each one of those cities, we would meet the guide in the morning. He would meet us at the hotel, step on the coach, and then direct the driver, show the driver where to turn, where to park, all of that. And that's called a step-on guide. And it can be kind of profitable too, because you're earning gratuities and all that. But also, if you are interested in working for a tour operator, like let's say you're trying to get in with one of the major tour operators doing domestic tours, it can be a good step in, because now the tour director, and everybody at the end of the tour will evaluate you as a step-on guide. I used to do a lot of training down in San Diego, and I would hire a step-on guide down in San Diego, and she was great. Well, then she decided she wanted to go over the road and lead tours, and I lost her, but they knew her already as a step-on guide and knew her abilities and how well she took care of the people and her narration and all that. So it's a great way to get into the business. I used to hire people for one of the major tour operators. I think it was San Diego. And if anybody knows California, I had people coming all the way from Ventura to work for them in San Diego. They would do 2 a day for a couple of days and make good money, but also network. The networking was great. So, but that's a step-on guide. And if you're interested in that, of course, you want to learn your narration, but also your guide associations are a good source, because if a group's coming in, chances are the tour operator, when they're putting together the tour and they need a step-on guide, will contact the guide association and see who they recommend. If there isn't a guide association, they'll often contact the visitor center, which are now called visit Seattle or visit wherever you are, and they'll recommend. So if you're a step-on guide and you don't have a guide association, that's a good resource to get to know. I had to hire one in Pasadena years ago, and I contacted the Pasadena visitor center, and they said, well, there's one person that does tours of Pasadena. And so I hired him, and he was actually, it was great because everybody on the tour had taken my training before, but we were going to do the Rose Parade, they were going to do Pasadena through it. So I wanted them to have that information. And he was kind of the best guide to say, this is what you don't want to do. You know, I mean, it was so negative about things. And I was just, oh my gosh, you know, yeah, I hope you guys see this, don't do it this way. So, but he was the only one they had. So if you're in a city, a smaller city, you might be the only step-on guide if anybody calls. So just a suggestion, and that's step-on guide. And again, you've got to be able to direct the driver. I find that's difficult. I ended up hiring somebody to do my local tours, even of Orange County training, because who's used to doing Orange County as a step-on guide, because I find it difficult guiding and directing the driver, and I would end up in parking lots and we couldn't get out of kind of things. So one just said, I'm taking over this. But you have to know your timing, and you got to get your timing right, because if you're late coming back, you know, that tour operator can be charged too. So it's all part of it.
So I have a question. Tell us the difference between local guiding and step-on, and what's the benefit of one over the other?
Okay, it's basically a local guide can be anybody. A local guide could be the one doing the walking tour with the headphones, or doing a taste of this, or a bicycle tour could be a local, could be an adventure tour as well as a local tour. Airbnb, if you're interested in doing your own local tours, you have ideas, Airbnb now has experiences. And if you go to your city, you click on experiences, you'll see all kinds of really creative things that people are doing. And if you can come up with something like that, you can do your own local guide that way. Most of those people are just local people, not even experienced guides, putting together things. I was telling Linda that probably the most successful, one of the most successful Airbnb experiences in LA is a gal that walks groups up to the Hollywood sign. I mean, she's got thousands of people and takes groups up. And when she started out, it was $39 a person. I don't know what it is now. And she had thousands of people say, it was great, it was great, it was great. You know, so it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. We were talking to somebody yesterday, has a history major. Well, you know, there may be some other history area that, you know, off the beaten path that you could share with them. Or in fact, if you have a history major, any of the tour operators that do those historical tours would love to hire you. And again, it can be flexible, you know, it can be, and I always tell people, don't quit your job. You know, you could have a regular job and then do this on your off time, make a little extra money, but have fun with it too. And also, if you're retired, you don't need money. Docent tours are really fun. The docent is a volunteer. Here in Orange County, for instance, we have our missions. We use San Juan Capistrano mission oftentimes for trips and for parties. And the docents dress up. If we do an event at night or even during the day, they dress up in old garb, you know, of the time period, and they love what they do, and they're volunteers, you know, and it's the love of history and the love of the site. And it's a great way too, if you want to be a tour director anywhere, it's a great way to start getting started, you know, because they'll teach you the history. Anybody that can do a tour of a mission like that, they know California history. Right. And it's a great way to network. And it's, and then you get the experience leading the tours. And they do a lot of student tours. Something like 40,000 students go through there every year. So you get all of that experience. So now you want to work into a student tour company, and, you know, it just all builds, but just fun, just fun. So let's stop there. And next time I'll get into product manager, travel staff, trip directors, field representatives, peer staff. We'll start covering, got a lot more to go. So a little bit about what I do. I have my training. I just this last year in 2020 introduced my new online course. It's mine, so I can do anything I want to get, videos and Zooms and personal help. And it's called Live Your Dream Travel Job. And I think Linda's going to put in a link. And I want to say that's an affiliate link that I've given to Tammy. Use that if you are interested in enrolling, because it is an affiliate link and I want to help support what Tammy's doing. I mean, to keep her business going at this time, so many companies have gone out of business. To do what she's doing with these presentations, I mean, that is a lot, and I want to support that. So if you are interested, go to the affiliate link that Linda will put below. That'll take you into my online course. And originally I had a couple of courses. I put them all together as one master course. So if you enroll in Live Your Dream Travel Job, you get the big master course, which is the tour directing and tour management for international, domestic tours, local tours, tour guiding, all in that. It also includes another course that I bundled with that called Enjoy VIP Travel Working in the Convention Meetings and Incentive Market, which Linda likes. That's how we got to know each other. And that's what I'm working in now. I'll talk about that on the 24th, where you can travel with the meetings, staying at the finest resorts, or you can work locally, which I'm enjoying doing more, and and doing things like I get paid to go whale watching and tours of the harbor and fine dining. I mean, that's why I miss my job. I really miss my job. And work with just great people. So that's another course in there. And then I've done a couple of self-directed courses. One's on student tours, includes all the course with Liz Moran, and also one on cruise hosting. And I know Tammy likes hiring a lot of my cruise host trained people. And what I'm going to do with that, I just happen to have a lot of my textbooks left because I had them all printed at the beginning of 2020, and then we know what happened March. So
Today,
if you sign up for Live Your Dream Travel Job, and again, she'll have the link. She'll have my email on there too, Cherie@tourtraining.com. Send me your confirmation and your shipping address, and I'll send you a complimentary copy, because these are usually $199. This is my training. This I help with. In fact, if people aren't interested in taking the online class, they can order this individually too at tourtraining.com. And again, tourtraining.com, you'll get the ebook. Let me know you want a hard copy. Send me your confirmation. Send me your shipping address. I'll send it to you. So you can just do this. Or if you sign up for the class, you can do this. And the class has a 30-day guarantee. So if you don't like it, you can drop it too. So
you'll love it. People will love it.
If you love people and travel, you will love it.
I love it. Love it.
Because I'm going to tell you what you need to know, make it easy and fun. And
Awesome.
And they're so important. In fact, I start out my class with the importance of what we do. We're the ones that I used to say, when you work in the hospital, you work in retail, you work at the return desk, people aren't really excited to be there. We're the ones that are making their memories with their loved ones. We're the ones that at the end say, I'm so glad I did that, and we had the time together. And, we're also the ones that help share the culture, the ecotourism, all of that. We're just involved in all of that now and trying to bring the world together. So that's all part of what we do. So that's again, the affiliate link to the class, or tourtraining.com just for the book. But again, let me know if you get the class so I can send you the book. My email, she's going to put my email on there, Cherie@tourtraining.com. Oh, my ebook, and you see a picture of it behind Linda. It's an ebook, so I can't hold it up. That's my ebook that I came out with last year. It's called Enjoy Living Your Dream Travel Job. I go through all of these careers that I'm sharing with you. Plus, I have links directly to their websites and how to find more companies like that. And some of that I'll talk about on the 24th too. If you do, and Linda will put a link on that, and a coupon code for Tammy. And if you put Tammy in the coupon, it's 50% off. So it's like $27 for the ebook. And let me tell you, I really honestly believe I'm probably the only, honestly, probably confliction there, but I think I really am the person that knows all of these careers the best. I think I've worked all of them. My students have worked many of them. So, and I'm still working in the industry. So anyway, that's my ebook, and Linda will have that. And also what I told Linda is that if you call me or email me and you want my personal help, I suddenly have lots of time. You can tell by this, I'll probably talk your ear off. I do that because I'm so happy to talk to people, but call me and I'll help you. So maybe you're not sure. And again, next week I'll get into more, more jobs. We haven't covered them all, obviously. Sorry about the phone. I disconnected it, but the battery's ringing. I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm missing some very important phone calls from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we know who calls our landlines nowadays. Anyway, but call me and I'll help. We'll talk. Maybe you're thinking about going in some direction. You're not sure. You're thinking maybe you want to do this. You're not sure. Let me help you. You need some suggestions. Let me help you. She'll post my phone number. I'm in California, Pacific time, 949-830-8603. Usually 10 o'clock or after. I'm not a good morning person.
It's no.
California time, Pacific Standard Time, and I'll help you. And I told Linda that anybody, in their group, I'd be more than happy to talk to. So I think that everything, how to get a hold of me, how I can help you, how I'm trying to help Tammy, how get you a discount on the ebook, and I think that's. And
I think you covered it all. This was so fantastic, and to the viewers, I like I said, I know Cherie personally. I've trained with her. She's as dynamic as you see right here. I mean, this is authentically her. And so we want to thank you, Cherie, for joining us with Single Life today. It is a two-part series, as we mentioned. And so our next event is March 24th. We invite everyone to join us. The link below is through www.singlelife.today. So we'll have that there for you, so you can join up, and it's free to join up for Single Life Today. And it's worth it just to come and see Cherie, but we have all kinds of other events. So please take a look at that. And then I will have all of Cherie's contact information, as she mentioned, down below of where I'm posting this on YouTube. So thank you. This was just fantastic. And I'm learning a lot too. And I've been in the business for a while and I'm still learning stuff. So very excited for part 2 on March 24th. So please, everyone out there, join us, and we'll see you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.